Let's see if this is working. Happy Halloween, everybody. Okay, so we're talking some baseball today, but mostly it's going to be about manager changes and stuff like that. But let me say hi in the chat room and make sure everything's working. Yay, it's working. Hi, Retorius. Nice to see you. I guess we'll start with the Mets because it is really probably the most exciting of the three manager. Wait, are we going to talk about 3 or 4 today? We're going to talk about the Mets, the White Sox, the AJ Hinch, Detroit, and maybe one other one. But either way, let's start with the Mets. The Steve Cohen thing is such a great, out of all of this is really the happiest story. This will be the happiest story of the offseason. The Mets are in the best shape that they've been in for a long time financially, and they have an owner now who is giving reins to Sandy Alderson to basically run the team the way that he feels best. And he was around for a long time, but he left in 2018. So he actually was the GM of the Mets from 2010 to 2018. And he is going to oversee all of the baseball and business operations. And he's 73 years old. I don't think he's quite, is he older than La Russa? Is he older than La Russa? I'm not sure, but they're both they're right up there. Anyway, Cohen, he's ready to spend money. He's been a lifelong Mets fan. Let me just pull up my notes here. He bought the team for $2.475 billion. He is now the richest owner in baseball. So we'll see. I think that owners and players and everybody, fans, there's lots of loyal Met fans out there, and you can really say that Mets fans are very loyal, and they have been very frustrated for a lot of years with the whole Madoff and the Wilpons the Wilpons were really pretty stingy with money, and they didn't treat the players that good. And Noah Syndergaard, even though I feel like he's kind of an asshole, he doesn't really need to chime in the way he does, but especially because he's never healthy. Like this guy, if you were a good pitcher and you were healthy and you were like putting it out there on the field, then maybe you could talk shit. But he was talking about how, I hope that Steve Cohen meets the very low bar that the Wilpon set, for how to treat players. And I don't know the exact words in the tweet, but it was on Twitter. So by all means, go check it out. So the Wilpons actually asked Cohen to invest in the team in 2012. Like I said, he and his family are lifelong Mets fans. Right now, there's going to be more players available than ever because teams just are not signing players. They're not accepting the options for players. We just saw yesterday, we saw several good players be denied their club options. And so, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to be on that team. It just means that they're not going to pay them that amount of money. Okay. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about some players that are, but for the Mets' sake, they have a couple glaring needs on the Mets. And right now, Steve Cohen's free agency starts tomorrow. So I'm ready to get it done. And he's ready to spend money. And he's donating money to the city of New York, $17.5 million. He's donating to small businesses in New York City. He's also said that he announced yesterday that the Mets employees will have their initial 2020 salaries pre-pandemic reinstated on November 1st, and that the club will establish a relief fund for seasonal employees that will run through opening day. So he's coming out right away and getting on the good side, while other teams like Oakland and even Tampa, lots of teams, most teams are just basically making cuts across the board, and the Mets are just a bright sunny day. And finally, for the Mets fans, they're going to have an owner who's willing to spend money, we think he's willing to spend money. We haven't seen it yet, but Sandy Alderson coming back is a big deal. He left a couple years ago. Like I said, he left in 2018, but the last 2 seasons, he was a senior advisor to the Oakland Athletics. He's highly respected by his peers. He will get to decide who to keep. Even in the front office, he was the game's biggest spender before he came to the Mets. So he's willing to spend money. We know that for sure. He did make a couple of really good, significant trades that got the Mets to the World Series, actually. He got Wheeler for Beltran. He got Noah Syndergaard and D'Arnaud for R.A. Dickey. Remember that? Right after R.A. Dickey won the Cy Young, he traded him off. He got Syndergaard and catcher Cespedes for Michael Fulmer and Luis Cessa. I mean, Cespedes. What? Cespedes. Is Cespedes finally gone? Is he done with his contract or what? How's everybody doing? White Sox, Al, you're here. I can't wait to talk about La Russa for you. I did definitely. I reached out to that guy because he's a huge White Sox fan, and we'll see if he pops in here. I sent him the link to hop on SteamYard if he wants to talk, because I think there's a lot to say about Tony La Russa too, okay? We're going to get there. Nice to see you in the chat room, though. And Stardog's here. Nice to see you. And Taco, I'm the fairy godmother today. That's me. It's Halloween, so hi, Big Al on the prow. Brooke Santinello, hope all is good over there in Cincinnati. And Guest Cooper and Isabel, well, nice to have you too. So the Mets did make some good draft picks with him in charge, and he will finally get to be able to just freely, we can't really say for sure how good he is at his job, because really the Wilpons really did not allow him much wiggle room to do what he wants. So now they have Brody Van Wagenen. They're going to decide what to do with him, but I think his job's on the line. It depends on if Alderson wants to keep him or not. So as Mets fans, I do know that Rotorius said that he was happy that the Mets are bringing back Sandy Alderson, and I wonder how the rest of you feel. There was some bad moves too that were made in his time with the Mets, like the fact that Justin Turner, they decided to let him go to free agency, and this happened a week after they wanted him to use this hitting coach that was friends with the Wilpons, and Justin Turner wanted to use the hitting coach that actually transformed his ability to hit. I mean, he really just made him a good hitter because that's who he ended up using. He made that decision, and then a week later they let him go. And now he's been with the Dodgers for the last several seasons, and he's, a main part of their winning formula. And then Daniel Murphy, they let Daniel Murphy go, and he went to the Nationals in the same division and crushed the Mets the year after. So it's not like it was foolproof, and the Mets have done some really stupid things, but I mean, you can't really blame these things on one guy. And Michael Kadire, they traded a first-round draft pick for Michael Kadire at the very end of his career when he just was useless. So we're going to see what happens with Van Wagenen, but it's kind of like how also can you blame Brody for the debacle that the Mets have been the last couple seasons? Has he really had enough time to, establish his footprint on the team? So there's a lot of people that are still there were there with Sandy Alderson, from before. But so they're not going to have a total overhaul here, but they're going to make some changes. We'll see what happens with Wagatail, as Lenny likes to say. He's made changes in professional scouting and player development and brought on his own people. So we'll see what happens to them too. But the exciting thing is that the MLB did approve Steve Cohen. He's had some history. De Blasio, of course, leave it to De Blasio to try to block this. What I think, honestly, so here's the thing. There's this clause in the Mets lease with the stadium that defines that an individual, okay, that has been convicted in a criminal proceeding for a felony or any crime involving moral turpitude, or that is an organized crime figure, doesn't get to, like, they're not allowed to be in the stadium or run the team or whatever. But this is what the clause that the mayor wanted to try to use. Actually, he wanted to change it. Okay, he wants to change it to extend that to anybody who controls any person or entity that has been convicted of a felony, right? But they didn't let it happen. But he tried to use his power to keep Cohen out of owning the Mets, because what it comes down to is that he wanted A-Rod and J-Lo to get the team. And also, we're going to talk about the White Sox owner, Reinsdorf. He was huge against Cohen getting the team. He also is big time friends with A-Rod and J-Lo, and it's just unbelievable how much politics is playing into sports these days. And like, a lot of it has to do with politics. Plain and simple, it's politics. The mayor of New York City doesn't like Cohen, so Cohen, he tried to stop them from approving him to buy the Mets, even though the Mets, come on, man, like, obviously the Mets need new ownership. Obviously, they've been trying to get rid of this team for years, and the Mets the New York, like the citizens of New York, myself and Lenny included, okay, we deserve to have teams that are decent with ownership that is willing to spend money the way that the fans are willing to spend money to go to games. And the fans here are no joke. They spend money, they support their teams through thick and thin. I mean, Yankees fans, Yankees fans are like my nemesis. So, but Mets fans, I know they're not fair weather fans, obviously, because they wouldn't be fans if they were fair weather fans. But all right, the Mets need a couple of things. They need George Springer. Everybody is completely in agreement in the fact that they need George Springer. No matter what article you read or what newspaper you're reading, the Springer thing is huge, and they're saying he should get that done today. Like, why didn't the Astros sign Springer? It's just a stupid, to me, that's my opinion, obviously. It's not fact. It's totally subjective. It's just that this is a guy who's great in the clubhouse. He's obviously excellent. He's a leader on the team. He is everything that the Astros need going forward, okay, to rebuild their name, to rebuild their reputation. And here they go. They don't sign Springer. So what? He's a free. Everybody wants Springer. Of course, you'd be stupid if you were a team that didn't want Springer. He can play center field and right field. The Mets need that. They also need a catcher. So Letty believes, like, will they go in on Real Muto? I believe they will. I say, you're coming into the city, right? You're coming into, now you're the owner of the Mets, and you're already proved that you're willing to invest money in the city. He's giving money to small businesses, $17.5 million. He's guaranteed everybody's contract. He's not laying off anybody. And why not get Springer? You need a leader. Get rid of Cespedes, replace him with Springer, and your team is going to be just so much better just right off the bat. Add Springer, and your team is like, whoa, that much better. Add a catcher too, like in Real Muto, who would, this is kind of a side note, but I'm going to digress for a second. Cleveland Indians, they let go. They didn't, I don't know, claim the option or whatever. They didn't they denied the option for Carlos Santana. And I can't remember who else, but they did extend the option to Roberto Perez. And he's the best defensive catcher in baseball. There's no doubt about it. I found him when Bauer was pitching in Cleveland because Bauer spoke so highly of him. And basically, I was actually wondering what is going to happen to Bauer if he doesn't find a catcher that meshes with him, But anyways, it just goes to show you the importance of a catcher, the importance of the defense in a catcher. And the Cleveland Indians did extend him, and they and I think that the Mets have the catcher it could be considered one of the most important. It might be the most important position defensively The pitchers rely on the catcher so much. They have to have a decent relationship. Communication has to be there. So investing in Real Muto would be, in my opinion, super smart. And or any good catcher that gets, like, it doesn't have to be a fantasy catcher. It just has to be a catcher that is very good defensively, can communicate well with his pitchers, and the Mets already have some really good pieces. They have Conforto, and they have some young people on the team. They have good pitching, and if they could just add a couple pieces, the Mets are contenders for sure. Like, the Nationals are just, they proved that they did not go any younger last year. So they didn't compete at all, really. And the division does have good teams. I mean, it has Atlanta, which is a good team, but the Mets can compete if they add a couple pieces that they need. What if Bauer comes if Bauer comes, I would love it. I would go to the Mets. I would ride the train to the Mets all the time. I would go there every time because they have great food there, and they have. But so another thing about the Mets is the question of, are they going to upgrade, like do infrastructure? They really have been lagging behind in the analytics department, in the equipment department. Like they have not updated and kept up with the modern ways of managing the team. Like if they invested in some analytic stuff and get an analytic guy, get some guys from Driveline Baseball, whatever, just get Bauer over here, and that would be amazing. Okay, I would love it, because we know he's not going to the Yankees. You know why I know he's not going to the Yankees? Because the Yankees have Garrett Cole, and Garrett Cole and Bauer do not get along, and they never will. So there you go. That is so lucky for me. I'm so happy about that. It would be just horrible. Okay, moving on. So what do you guys think about the Mets, and do you think that they're going to grab Springer immediately? Lester, okay, they did say that Lester was talking to Theo, that obviously Lester and Theo go way back, but they're talking about getting something done. The craziest thing, it's like the Met, as a Cubs fan, a Cubbies fan, if you're out there in the chat room, Cubbies fans, what do you think of David Ross? Because I love reading the comment sections. When I read the articles, I really love the comment sections. A lot of time at The Athletic, they're really good because they're just extensive, and you can really get a feel. You can get more information, number one, data and facts and stuff, but you can also get like a feel of the discourse, like just the attitudes of the fans, really. And they were talking about La Russa. Let's talk about La Russa next. They were talking about La Russa and the idea that La Russa is a manager that's not going to be like Dusty Baker. He's the opposite of Dusty Baker. He's not going to baby his players. He's going to tell you what you're doing wrong, and he's going to be like, you need to fix it, or you don't play, that kind of thing. Like, he's hardcore, and he's not your friend, but I'm not sure that he's not a player's manager. I'm not saying that. I don't know. He hasn't been a manager for a long time. So frankly, I can't really recall whether or not he was known as like a player's manager or not, but I know that he is like pretty like hard nosed, like he's pretty strict, and he has, anyway, he's kind of strict. Okay. That's the nicest thing. David Ross, on the other hand, seems to be the players. David Ross, player, like he was a great clubhouse guy when he was a catcher, and he wasn't really known that much in fantasy, but he absolutely was an addition to any team that he was on. They won usually. He was on the Red Sox when they won. He went to the Cubbies. They won. So, but somebody mentioned about the fact that, like, look at what happened in Cubbyville. David Ross became the manager, and he's too busy being their friend. And then, they were good for the first couple weeks, and then they sucked the rest of the season. I'm sorry. I just disagree with that. Like, I'm not a fan of wussy managers. I definitely think that it's best to be kind of strict with your players and be like, no, you're going to do it my way, or hit the highway like that. But I don't think that like, I don't see David Ross the same type of guy as Dusty Baker. I just don't see it. He hasn't been a manager long enough to really like assess how good he is or how not good he is. But the fans were talking about how, they felt like this was a bad decision by the Cubs to put David Ross in that role because he is more of a buddy than a manager. I disagree, but anyway. Let's see. Okay, all right, Cubby fan and Brooks. We got the Cubby fan. He says he loves David Ross. Like, who? I really agree. Who couldn't love him? He's super. So I thought he did good too. The Mucking Fets. Hey, Shaman, nice to see you. Oh, Lordy. So it's Lenny posted about La Russa. He feels, this is not my quote, by the way. I don't really have an opinion about this yet, but I can say, number one, that it's really sad when, like, you can't have an opinion politically and then, like, somebody's like, oh, the whole town hates you because, see, La Russa came out and said that in 2016, when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, La Russa said that he wouldn't support it if he was the manager or he was the coach of the team. And he felt like it was, like most people that don't support it, they feel like it's disrespecting the country, whatever, disrespecting the flag. But because of that, it's like the freaking fans. I mean, the input that you hear a lot is like, well, there's people that kneel here, like Tim Anderson knelt and a couple other guys knelt, and so immediately they're not going to get along, right, with La Russa because La Russa disagrees with kneeling. But there's so many aspects to this. But the whole point is, I'm not, without trying to get too political, it's so sad that somebody can't have an opinion of how they feel about something and not be like completely just shouted down. Mob, like the mob comes after you and like wants to cancel you and shit, and it's just it's a sad thing. But like, the worst thing you can do is give in to the mob. And I know this because I remember when I was in 10th grade and this one girl wanted to kick my ass, and I would go home and I'd be like, Mom, this girl at school, she wants to kick my ass. I'm really scared of her. Like, I didn't know what to do. And my mom said, you need to stand up to her and you need to tell her if she wants to kick your ass, then just do it and get it over with. And I was like, what? No way. What? It's like, that did not make sense to me, that you would, if you don't want to get your ass kicked, you tell somebody to kick your ass. Like, that made no sense to me. But when I did do it, because I did do it, and I was so scared, I was like ridiculously scared. It was the smartest thing I ever did because she just turned around and walked away and she never bothered me again. And what the worst thing you can do, okay, is give in to people and go against what you feel is right because you feel like you don't want to deal with somebody being mean to you or telling you how to think. The worst thing you can do is think that by giving in that they're going to go away, and by not standing up for yourself. So basically, La Russa comes out and says that he now has seen a lot of really positive change happen and that he does support kneeling if the protests are done in a peaceful way. Okay, doesn't really matter. But the point is, are they going to accept him now? I don't know. They still don't like him. Now they're saying that he's too old, he's out of touch, like he doesn't really know much about analytics, and they're just basically saying that the ownership hired him because they felt bad for firing him or like having that. I never knew that Hawk Harrelson, is that his name? Hawk, the guy that does the in the booth, the guy that does the announcing, and I guess they put him in charge at one point, and they said he set the team back like 10 years because of his antics, but he got rid of La Russa. And so the going opinion is that the reason that he was hired is not because the GM wanted him to be hired, but because the ownership still regrets firing him before. Reinsdorf, Jerry Reinsdorf La Russa still comes around, goes into the box, and watches. But 1986 is when this happened, okay? La Russa has 3 World Series championships. And another couple managers we're going to talk about today is Alex Cora and AJ Hinch. And bottom line, the fans don't really know. I think that the fans that are the most outspoken, so it's not necessarily the majority of fans, it's the ones speaking out that you see, they're basically like, no, this sucks. This just sucks for a team that is now finally able to win. They are setting themselves back by hiring a manager. He's 71. He's the oldest manager in the major leagues by 5 years. No. La Russa becomes the oldest manager in the major league by 5 years. The Astros' Dusty Baker is 71. So La Russa is 76. He started his managing career with the White Sox in 1979, and he will return to the dugout for the first time since 2011. He's won championships with Oakland in 1989 and the Cardinals in 2006, and he hasn't managed in 9 years. But he has remained a part of the game, most recently in front office jobs with the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox. This is so funny. Like, I'm reading his record, right? His record is 2,728 to 2,365. So he's won more than he's lost by about 500 games, 6 pennants, 33 seasons with Chicago. Can you even imagine 33 seasons with Chicago, Oakland, and St. Louis, the 3 teams, 33 seasons. Okay, so only Connie Mack and John McGraw have more victories than La Russa. And La Russa and Sparky Anderson are the only managers to win the World Series in both the American League and National League. And let me have a drink of coffee. We'll see what happens. But what I do know about La Russa is that he's a stickler and he is going to keep people in line. I just don't look, if you're Tim Anderson and your political viewpoint is on the left, or he's an African American, so I understand, that's absolutely okay, fine. I personally, I would never kneel for the national anthem, but I will never be angry at somebody or not like them as a baseball player because that's what they choose to do. I will never say I don't like that guy because he kneels for the flag. That's his choice, and my choice is not to kneel. But I don't see how people can say, well, Tim Anderson's they're not going to get along immediately. And if that's the case, then how valuable are you to a team if you just can't get along with somebody immediately because they had an opinion that's different from yours? And La Russa's the boss now. So who would end up getting fired? I don't know. I've seen plenty of managers get shit canned over players, lots of times. In fact, for the majority of times, especially if the player is getting paid a lot of money or if they're really good, the manager's history, they would choose a player over the manager. In this case, I'm not really sure, but I guarantee Brave's going to get along with them. I guarantee that these other, there's lots of, the White Sox are ready to win. And another thing about it is that how much impact does a manager really have on whether or not a team is going to make it to the World Series? Okay, you could argue that, but more important than the manager is the quality of the players, the camaraderie on the team, the clubhouse demeanor or whatever, the culture in the clubhouse, how it feels to be there, how comfortable are the players. All of these things have more of an effect on getting to the World Series than the manager does, I think. That's just my opinion. There's no stat that says that. But we'll see what happens there. I do have some notes about Lester. It says John Lester said in an interview on Sirius XM yesterday that he's had conversations with Theo about getting something done, coming back and being a part of the Cubbies, the organization. The Indians passed up, Carlos Santana and Brad Hand. So neither of them were, neither option was, they declined them both. So the Rays are set to decline their club option on Charlie Morton, who also did an interview yesterday, and I saw him on MLB TV talking about how he knows that they're not going to approve of the club option. What's the word? Why can I not? What's the opposite of decline? What is the word that I'm talking about when they actually do the club option? God, why is this word? Anyway, opposite of decline. He knew that they were going to decline it. Mike Zunino declined, but they can always sign new contracts with the same team at a lower value, and that's what's going to happen, I think, to in a lot of cases this offseason. I'm not really sure about what's happening either, because the winter meetings were not postponed, but they were switched into virtual, and they're supposed to have this big. They're supposed to renegotiate the contract for the next, I don't know how long, between the Players Association and the majors, and it's supposed to include all kinds of stuff, like the minor league, the future of the minor leagues, all these things. Anyway, the Major League Baseball announced that the winter meetings have been postponed as an in-person event. They were scheduled for December 7th to 10th, but now they will still be December 7th to 10th. They will be conducted remotely as necessary. And then the owners' meetings will happen November 17th to 19th. Those are also going to be online, virtual. See how much they get done there. I don't know how much there is to be done. Every team has lost so much money. The Dodgers lost $125 million, and they're the World Series winner. So you can imagine how much. No, $125 million they lost, and they're the World Series winner. So I can only imagine what other teams are dealing with. All right, let's talk about AJ Hinch now. Okay, AJ Hinch is the new manager of the Detroit Tigers, hired by Al Avila. Alex Cora is also on for, he's out, he's available, he's looking for a job. The Boston Red Sox are the only team left that needs a manager, so far, but I have to say that I don't have a problem with AJ Hinch getting a job. All of this is just my opinion, and everybody has their own opinion about what they think about AJ Hinch. And obviously you can't argue with his record, and he's grown up in, look, he was a player, he was a player development, he was minor leagues. He was everything. He took the steps all the way to the top, all the way to where he was. So he has a lot of experience. He's totally into the modern analytics. He definitely, can you say that he's the reason that the Astros won? I can't say that he's the reason, but I can say that player development does matter, and that he has a long history of player development and analytics, and he is known as a player's manager. He's known to get along really good with players. He kind of had that really good right down the middle, where you have just enough strict and just enough player buddy type thing. Players really liked him. And what we know about the Astros cheating and stuff is that there's a couple facts that we do know about AJ Hinch and his involvement. He did not like it. He smashed the video screen twice. That was his way. He took a baseball bat and he smashed up shit in the dugout. When he found out and when he saw his team cheating, he made it very clear that he didn't like it. And his biggest mistake was that he didn't follow through with that and make that happen, because that really is the most important job, is to set the tone, be a leader. And if you see something that is against the moral values of, if you see something that you feel is not right morally, then you need to say something as a manager. However, he served his punishment, and I'm not really one to hold grudges against people and say that they're never going to be worthy or they can never redeem themselves, because he absolutely was I think he might be the only one that actually came through and said, like, I take responsibility for not stopping it and not being, more forceful about it. He never like said, well, I broke the TV, I smashed up shit, showing that I hated it. No, the players told that. He never like tried to make excuses or blame it on someone else. He just straight up said, I take responsibility. I knew what was going on and I didn't do anything about it. And for that, I'm sorry. And what else are you going to do? Like, I believe that pretty much every team was doing it. If they were smart enough to do it, they were doing it. That's how I feel. But I mean, it sounds horrible. But the truth is, they give you the perfect, it's like leaving your window down and your wallet on the seat with a bunch of cash hanging out. It's like you're tempting the honest people. And the same thing goes for the video replay room that the MLB has, put in place. And they think that nobody's going to use that room, even though they sit in there for 3 hours. They don't have anything to do but wait for some stupid replay. And what else are they going to do? They're going to study pitches. They're going to study signs, signals. Like, what they're going to do that until there is no that is going to be a part of baseball until baseball is no longer. So it will be forever a part of baseball to steal signs. It's legal. Okay. From second base, it's legal. The base coach can be looking at signs, whatever. Anybody that can get a good view of the catcher and his hands will try to look at the signs. But for me, it comes down to the taking responsibility for it and not blaming it on other people and just being like, you know what, we took advantage of a system that was put in place and we shouldn't have done it. Most of the Astros didn't really satisfy my need for that at all. They basically just were like, no, we didn't do it. We swear we didn't do it. But like, behind closed doors, when they have immunity from any kind of punishment, they tell a different story. Whatever. AJ Hinch and Jeff Luhnow had to go. Luhnow is out there talking about how he swears that he didn't know anything about it. I mean, he swears by it. Although he did respond to emails that plainly talked about it. And he says that he didn't really read the emails, which is a good reason for you to not ever respond to an email unless you know exactly what's in it. And like, I mean, that's a mistake that anybody could make. And like, so he said that he sat down one day and he answered like 15 emails in a row. And like the period of like a couple minutes, he just went through and he wrote like, keep up the good work or something like that to the manager. And that was it. He was responding to let them know that he, was involved, but he was just responding like spam responses. And he says he didn't read it. That's okay. That's fine. But as a manager, you're telling me that you were in your, you were in your GM little club box or whatever, and you never heard the trash can. You never heard that. Nobody ever like mentioned to you that they think the Astros are cheating. Everybody in baseball knew it. The players knew it. All the players knew it. From other teams, they knew it. Bauer knew it. He came out publicly and said it. I don't know how much he didn't know. Bottom line, AJ Hinch took responsibility. I can totally forgive him for that. He is going to the Detroit Tigers, who is done. They're rebuilding their team. They're absolutely in a place now where like the worst of the rebuild is over. They now have youngsters coming up. They have a good, young, solid team for the future, and they're ready to like start coming around. They even showed some potential for that this year in the 2020 season before they just okay. But bottom line, AJ Hinch is now the manager of the Detroit Tigers. I like it. I think it's a great addition. I'd like to see what you guys say in the chat room. Let me go ahead and check up on the chat room. Hinch likes trash cans. He didn't stop it. Totally. I agree with you 100%. And he should have. And that was a huge, a lot of people would say that the Astros, why would they do this? Because we know that they're a talented team. Like without cheating, they could have won the World Series without cheating, right? I mean, do we all agree that obviously they had the best pitching. The pitchers weren't cheating. The pitchers, Verlander, Greinke, like, they're pitching with even Garrett Cole, like they had the best pitching, hands down. And so the fact that they use this scheme to cheat is really baffling to me when they didn't even need to cheat. It feels like they're so much better than that. Would you love him if he beat the Mets in a World Series? I wouldn't hold it against him. I'm not that huge of a Mets fan, although I would be if Bauer came to the team. I would really be a huge. What are you doing, Lenny's trying to find out where Sunny D is. He wants to know Sunny D. Lenny's trying to find you. Jeez Louise. It's okay, Sunny D. Bull Dinky and Poppycock. Al, Bull Dinky. Why are you saying that? That's so funny that you say Bull Dinky and Poppycock. Let's see. He's not buying the apology from Hinch. That totally, I mean, it's absolutely justifiable how you would feel that way. I totally agree. I just, I feel like I absolutely rooted against the Astros this year. And I feel like they really got off scot-free, but the people that were really cheating were the ones that didn't have to suffer any kind of punishment. And I feel like they really stole a World Series from the Dodgers or the Yankees or whoever. They stole MVP awards. They should give back their trophy as far as I'm concerned. And maybe then I think people like Al who feel just bitter about the whole thing and like it's not acceptable no matter what. Maybe people would feel a little bit better about it if the Astros said, like, we're giving back our trophy. We're giving back our championship because we cheated. Bottom line. I mean, yes, it's a pain in the ass for bookkeepers or like future, there's going to be some kind of symbol there instead of who won the World Series that year. But whatever, it's in the best interest of the game of baseball. It's in the best interest of the Astros, but they're not going to do that. So, I don't disagree completely. It will be interesting to see how he does without talent for sure. And also the player development, because there's some really good young players in Detroit. They might have one of the best farm systems in baseball right now. Doesn't matter why they did it. Okay, bye, Brooks. Have a good day. Hinch versus Pete Rose. Pete Rose deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about it. In my mind, in my world, I see no reason why he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And the fact that he can't be part of baseball, that's just disgusting. I feel like he never bet. First of all, I don't think he never got caught betting against his own team. He never got caught like doing, like that big Black Sox scandal or whatever, when they were actually paid to lose. I think that's what happened. But regardless, like, I just don't see it. This guy, I mean, the records, the Pete Rose record speaks for itself, and he deserves to be a part of baseball. And it's really pretty sad. They'll probably wait till he dies and then they'll put him in there, just like they do with a lot of Hall of Famers. They wait till they die, then they put him in the Hall of Fame. It's like, why can't you just put them in there while they're still alive and they're like young enough to enjoy it and be proud of it? Like whatever. Anyway, Joe from Staten Island, nice to see you. LaRussa, who does better in 21? Well, I think the White Sox they're going to be a better team. Bonds never got caught. Right. Neither did the pitcher in who's the pitcher for the Yankees that basically they're never going to. A lot of these guys never got caught. And but by the way, everybody in baseball was a lot of people in baseball were doing steroids. A lot of people we will never know that they were doing steroids. A lot of people that we will never be able to prove. But like, for instance, Big Papi, right? I'm a huge fan of Big Papi. His name was on the list, that came out of like all of these players that had supposedly tested positive for steroids at some point, and Big Papi was on the list. So like, is he going into the Hall of Fame? I mean, in my world, he's already in the Hall of Fame, right? But a lot of these players did not get caught specifically. They did not get caught publicly, but what are we going to do? We're not going to put a whole generation of players into the Hall of Fame because they did some stupid shit in their personal life. Like, everybody makes mistakes. I don't care. Honestly, I don't. I hope that I think they should make steroids totally legal, because why not? It's a person's free right, and it's their will to choose if they want to do drugs, if they want to do steroids, if they want to do, I mean, think about it. They do Tommy John surgery. They're basically replacing your elbow with like, they're giving pitchers a completely new ligament, or they're reconstructing knees, right? How is that not an advantage when you can get your entire body reconstructed, right? Or they put pins in your knees, or they give you stem cell injections to help you heal faster. That does the same exact thing as steroids do. Basically, steroids is a way to get your body to just heal quicker. And obviously, if you take a lot of steroids, your neck is like all big and, big like that. It doesn't look normal, but there's plenty of people that take steroids every day for either asthma or cancer treatments or whatever. Steroids are given every day in general practice. And ADD medication, Adderall, like 45% of players are prescribed Adderall for ADD, and it's a stimulant. You might as well be doing methamphetamine. Why is that okay? Like, why don't we just let everybody choose what they want to put into their own body, and they will pay the prices for that. As they age, they will be the ones that suffer. They will be the ones that, like, you get to choose. Do you want to take it or not? Right? I mean, at least then maybe it would be given in a safe way, and they wouldn't have to go underground to, like, order dirty drugs off the street or whatever through their friends, and they could actually get it from a real doctor, and it will be not cut and stuff like that, or whatever it is. Hi, Sunny D. Nice to see you. Okay, 9:48. So anyway, that's my rant about steroids. And let's see what else we got going on here. The Rays need a catcher. They have only one catcher on their team now. It's a prospect, Ronaldo Hernandez. That's the only catcher that they have on their 40-man roster. So they put their number 2 catcher on waivers, and his name was Michael Perez. He was claimed by the Pirates. Chaz Rowe, Andrew Kittredge, and Kevon Smith cleared waivers and will be free agents. The Rays will continue talks with them, so Smith as a catcher may come back, but they need a catcher too. They're not going to invest in Real Muto, though, I could tell you that much. The Charlie Morton, I saw him talking about the fact that he knew that they were not going to pursue his option, that he is from Connecticut. He would love to stay on the East Coast. He's been wanting to play for the Red Sox. He's been wanting to be – he was hoping that the Red Sox would pursue him as a free agent after 2018, but they didn't. So we'll see. Maybe they will now. He is believed to want to continue his career. So he's among decent pitchers that are free agents this year. I think he's among the decent. I should say he was decent at a time. He was good. Last year he was not good. Or 2020, he was very disappointing. And I'm wondering if he has like terminal shoulder problems going forward, because he's not getting younger. But the Red Sox should be able to get a decent price, and they obviously need some pitching, right? The Red Sox did not get a contract done with Rafael Devers before he hit arbitration, and that is pretty disappointing, especially for, Red Sox fans that are already disappointed because they're looking at Mookie Betts and they're like, nice move giving away Mookie Betts. And I mean, Verdugo is somebody to watch for next year too, though. I think he's going to be under the radar. He's very good. He's got good plate discipline. He hits the ball very hard. He is a power hitter, and as long as he stays healthy, which has been a little spotty throughout his young career, they could sign him for a long-term contract, and he has $700,000 is what he's owed 2021, and ever going to be Mookie Betts. 2021 will likely be Kyle Seager's last year for the Mariners. He's owed $18 million in 2021, and he's got a $15 million club option in 2022. There's no way. That option could increase by $5 million to $20 million based on awards and plate appearances, and buyout can range from $0 to $3 million. Byron Buxton, check this out. This is pretty interesting. Byron Buxton Steamer projections. They have him. I know, don't laugh, okay? They have him for 144 games, 27 home runs, and 20 stolen bases, which, look, I'm a fan of Buxton. If I ever see the guy play 144 games, I will faint. I hope he does. I really do. In fact, I'm tempted to, draft him again. Depends on where he's going to go in drafts. He is one of those players that you really have to watch where he's going in drafts. If you're in an auction draft and he comes up and nobody's and he comes up at a good time, like if he gets bid on, let's say he gets thrown out early, really early. It depends on where he gets thrown out and whether or not people have money left. If people have a lot of money, I'm not sure if they're willing. Like if you throw a DH out, it used to be great, throw out Big Papi at the beginning, and people will not bid on him because they don't want to get a DH that early, and you're going to get him for super cheap. If you throw him out in the middle when people are starting to put their rosters together, and that's going to cost you more money. But throw out Byron Buxton at some point in the draft where people don't have a lot of money left. You could probably get him for just a couple bucks, and that would be phenomenal. I wouldn't pay more than $8 or $9 for him, though. I just wouldn't. I don't think I would. But I mean, it's an exciting player that's fun to watch for sure. He's one of the more entertaining players to watch, and he definitely has 5-tool abilities. But he loves to run into walls because he just hustles. He's got speed like crazy, and he will run 100 miles an hour into the wall head first. So he's dangerous, but I hope Puig comes back. I really do hope Puig comes back. I don't even know. I haven't heard anything about Puig, but hopefully he's still around. And I can't imagine him leaving the country or anything, going back home. All right. So as a team, the Twins had 2,168 2020, and they attempted 21 stolen bases. In the second half of 2019, the Twins had 2,877 plate appearances and attempted 11 stolen bases. So Buxton was not healthy in the second half of 2019, and that's why they didn't steal a lot of bases. But think about it. They stole 21 bases all season, the whole team. So the fact that Steamer has Buxton stealing 20 bases is kind of, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's not that crazy because it was only a third of the season. So, in a full season, that would have been 63 stolen bases for the Twins, and it wouldn't sound so crazy, but it just does because of the short season. The Rays say that there's no set plan for Wander Franco as far as getting him up to the majors next season. They say that he is not going to get any special favors because he's an elite prospect status or any of that. They said they're going to make him work for his promotion. The Brewers, they declined club options on Ben Gamel, Jed Jerko, Eric Sogard. Ryan Healy was outrighted to AAA San Antonio. And that kind of begs the question of, like, what are the Milwaukee Brewers going to do about their corner infield spots? And the management just says it gives them just opportunity. So it's kind of like the world is our oyster, like there's plenty of fish in the sea type thing. So they're gonna deal with corner. They need corner. Corey Kluber is a free agent, and of course, God, every time anybody decent is a free agent, you got to bring up the Yankees. You got to bring up the Yankees as a possibility for the freaking everybody and anybody. Could the Yankees be his next team? Pitching coach Matt Blake worked with Kluber in Cleveland, and Kluber has worked out in previous offseason with Eric Crasey, who is the New York director. So he's got ties to some coaches or whatever. No one team claimed Brad Hand for $10 million. He was a top 3 finalist for American League Reliever of the Year with a 77 WHIP and 16 saves. Although he went down quite significant, but he's a free agent, and they just said we're not paying you $10 million, and paid him $1 million to buy him out, and we'll see what happens there. Cam Bedrosian cleared waivers. He was released by the Angels after refusing an outright assignment to the minors. Can you even imagine refusing an assignment to the minor leagues if you're not good at your job? Because Cam Bedrosian has done nothing to deserve to say, I'm not going to the minors. Like, first of all, you got to stay healthy. And then second of all, you actually have to get the job done, which he's not doing. So his balls are bigger than his talent right now. And that's probably going to hurt him in his pocketbook. Okay. He did have a 3.20 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP in 234 games over the past 5 seasons, but it's been on and off. And I just don't, and he wasn't their closer. He was brought up to be their closer. He was trained like, he was, when I say brought up, I mean like from a young prospect, he was supposed to be the future closer. He was not. When he got the opportunity, he failed. So, sorry, I hate to rank on him, but I just think it's quite ballsy to say you're not going to go to the minor leagues. Okay? Especially in a time like this when people don't have jobs all over the country. Okay? So anyway, the Yankees declined of course, they declined J.A. Happ's $17 million option, but that's interesting because he had a stipulation in his contract where if he pitched a certain number of innings, that this option would automatically kick in. And of course, the shortened season would have made it different because he needed like a certain number of games. And if you shorten the season by a third, 2/3 basically, then I don't know, the numbers in the stipulation, they should change too. I mean, if you have to pitch 60 games and the season is only 60 games, then that's not right. So anyway, they declined $17 million. They were going to try not to pay him anyway, but okay, it was set to vest if he reached the prorated totals of 62 innings or 10 starts this season, but he fell short in both categories, and okay, check this out. This is exactly what we knew would happen. Okay, he had to reach 6 innings or 10, but he fell short. Okay, guess what he did? 9 starts. So they did that on purpose. There's no doubt about it. He made 9 starts with a 3.47 ERA, a 1.05 WHIP, and a 42-15 strikeout to walk ratio across 49 innings. And teams should not be able to do that, dude. I'm sorry, it's wrong. But how would you ever stop it from happening? You can't say, like, the management could say, well, he's got a bad attitude, or we have a better pitcher than him. But like, the better the pitcher is, the harder that is to argue. And he did have an ERA under 4, and his WHIP was 1.05, so he was pitching pretty good. And he just got gypped out of $17 million, but I wouldn't want to pay him either. Okay, so the Marlins declined Brandon Kinsler, which is very surprising. I won't be surprised if he stays, though. He's going to get $225,000 buyout. He was excellent. He is a great closer for next year, no matter where he goes. He was injured coming into this past season, and so he was super cheap on draft day. And I think that no matter where he goes, he's going to be the closer. He was super efficient, and that's that. So Roberto Ozuna, Chris Davinsky, Dustin Garneau, and Chase DeJong have elected free agency after they cleared waivers. The most notable addition is Ozuna, another closer. The White Sox have declined their club options for Edwin Encarnacion and Gio Gonzalez. The club has picked up Lurie Garcia's $3.5 million. That's completely based on defense alone. Retaining Encarnacion would have cost them $12 million, but they will move on from him without having to pay any kind of buyout. Is he going to get a job? I don't know if he'll get a job. He goes from like the perfect DH, right? The perfect addition as a DH to just fall off the table, like talent wise. Just, I think his age is obviously catching up with him. And if your job is to be the designated hitter and you can't really like hit both lefties and righties efficient, you can't hit like opposite field, you're not worth, I don't know. He'll probably get a job somewhere. Anybody, that in the American League, if they keep the DH, maybe the National League, but I don't see him playing any kind of position, right? So, Encarnacion is one of the most prolific sluggers in recent memory, having totaled 8 straight 30 home run seasons before 2020. This year was a nightmare for him. He continued to show above average power. He did have 10 home runs, but he had a 157 batting average, a 250 on base percentage, and 181 plate appearances. And obviously, it says he doesn't bring any defense value, and he's going to be 38 next season. So, no surprise there. Gio Gonzalez, yeah, he wasn't good. He's 35, so he's probably pretty much done in his career. But I have a long relationship with Gio. I think he's great. I've always tried to draft him, and that's it, you guys. I'm pretty much done. Zero trust in Kluber. I agree totally. Gregory Polanco is still in Pittsburgh. This is true. King Hap and Taco coming up at 10:30. Is that true? Is that true? Yay! I hope so. I hope so. Okay. So I hope you have costumes. 2020 stats should be taken with a grain of salt. Yes, sir. Al Cola. I mean, I think that you should come on with me next Saturday and talk to me on the show. Tacos. Okay, it's taco time. I'm out. Happy Halloween, everybody. Hope you get lots of candy today.